Welcome to Formation Live. At Favor Together, we believe that healthy vision, we believe healthy visions begin with healthy people. So before we talk about what you're building, we always explore how to align, form, and steward who God has called you to be, because that's where healthy vision begins. I'm Rhonda Chaplin, and joining me today is Angel Holiday. So today we're exploring faith formation. Are you asking the right questions before choosing a church? Because where you're formed, it really, really matters. So welcome to the conversation. So Angel, one of the things over the past few weeks, I have realized that more and more people are turning to social media in order to get some church recommendations.
Yep.
And I don't know why, but it just it irked me a little bit. And I wanted to kind of share some of what I've been seeing to give it context, because we know context is king,
Yes,
right?
it is. Absolutely.
But these are the kind of recommendations that I'm seeing all over social media. You know, one person just saying, hey, I'm looking to connect with people who are attending a specific church. She describes her age and her kids. Someone give me a good church to go to via live or YouTube live. Recommendations, please. Any church recommendations. I love my pastor, but I need a new church home. I've outgrown mine. Any church recommendations in or very close to the city of Atlanta? I don't know about you. I just kind of compiled everything. But do you see a pattern? What do you see?
Absolutely. People are reaching out for a church home, but they're looking on a media platform. And I feel like social media can become very impersonal, and people don't ask the right questions. And we just spit out, especially people that love their church. My friends said it best. They're like fans of their church. They'll just say, oh, my church, without knowing what that is. And so it's leading.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just social media can become very impersonal.
And one of the things, I mean, this is just a snapshot. I could have had like 50 pages of different comments and different questions. And something that you said, it's my church, go here, go here. And one thing that when I looked at all of this, I just noticed that some people are looking for a fresh start. Some people are looking for community. Some are looking for discipleship. Some are looking for a place where their children can grow. Some are simply looking for hope. I know we were talking about hope all throughout the month of June. But like you, I just kept seeing the same pattern in the comments. You know, my church, my church, my church. But no one is stopping to ask questions.
Right.
You know, and that was the pattern of what I was seeing. And that's the reason why I said, hey, you know what? This is a part of our formation, faith formation, and just really taking an opportunity to have this conversation today in order to really hopefully guide some people on what are some things that, you know, you can say when someone is looking for a church. What should we be looking for? You know, because one person said, I'd love to find a mentor, someone willing to attend with me. That is what hit home for me. You know, how often do we take someone by the hand and say, come with me? Because, you know, a lot of people are single, you know, and they're going to church. And I know sometimes when I'm going to church and it's like, all right, look to the person, you know, in your row. And I'm like, I'm the only one in my row. What am I supposed to say to them? You know, and that can be so unnerving for someone who's like, can you come with me? And it was rare that I saw anyone say, I'm going to DM you, and how about we arrange to meet up? Or how about, do you have a ride? Can I come pick you up?
Right.
You know, do you see that pattern as
well?
well?
And I think pastors ask all the time, hey, bring a friend to church, but nobody actually takes that seriously. You never know who you're bringing into a new environment. You never know who you're saving, even if you just ask a friend, hey, will you come to church with me? And one of the things I wish somebody had asked in the comments on when someone put that post up was, where are you in your spiritual journey?
There you go.
because
Mhm.
church is not cookie cutter.
Yes.
We are part of one kingdom, but we all have different missions.
Mhm.
Hopefully, we have established missions. And so, when people are asking, "Hey, where are you at in your spiritual journey?" You
Mhm.
open up a door to, well, this church might not work for you, or my church might not work for you,
Mhm.
but I've attended this church before, or I've seen a
Yes.
post from this church, or
Mhm.
I have a cousin that goes here, and this is what
Mhm.
they focus on. You need to know what you need in
Mhm.
this season of your life in particular.
Absolutely. And I can't tell you how many times I say that to myself
Mhm.
because we ask for recommendations,
Mhm.
but we focus on the location. How long does it take to get there?
Yes.
The size,
Mhm.
not many people are looking for a mega church,
Mhm.
right? They're inquiring about the worship style,
Yeah.
right? But those are important. I'm not taking away from that.
Mhm.
But to your point, it goes, there's other questions that we
Mhm.
should be asking.
Yes.
That can make a difference not just in our life,
Mhm.
but now those in our community,
Mhm.
our family, right, our friends, because the purpose of going to church is not just the worship, is
Nope.
not just the size.
Mhm.
It's how is our ability to grow
Mhm.
in that place,
Mhm.
right? How are we able to engage, and where this actually becomes our second family,
Yes.
or in some cases our only family.
Mhm.
What does that need to look like? What are some questions, or being on the other end of being asked that question?
Yeah.
What are some things that we need to really focus on?
Mhm.
What are some things that you tend to really kind of share when someone asks you that question?
What does your community look like?
Mhm.
Because if this is your only family, you need to make sure not that it reflects you exactly, but you can have a piece to fit in.
Yes.
Because I see so many times people go to a church and they just stand in the back and they leave.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's a testament to how they do their day-to-day life too. They
Yes.
might feel isolated. They
Mhm.
might feel alone. They might
Mhm.
not have a family. You need to find somewhere that you can feel comfortable and engaging in.
Yes.
Because like we say all the time, God did not create us to do life alone.
Yes.
So if you're looking for a church, you need to look for somewhere you can put yourself in, like a
Yes.
piece that you can play in.
Mhm.
Because it's not just simply to get the word,
Mhm.
stand in the back,
Yes.
leave.
Yes.
There needs to be engagement for actual. The Bible says that we are here to mature the church, to develop the church.
Mhm.
And so you need to be in a place where you can play a part that you'll develop the church as well.
Right. And sometimes that means that we have to direct people,
Mhm.
maybe not to our church
Right.
yet,
Right.
because the church part, let's say children's ministry, that may be under development.
Yeah.
So they may temporarily go somewhere else
Exactly.
until it has been formed in our area.
Mhm.
So those questions are very, very key.
Mhm.
Something that I also will ask, especially when someone says that they have children,
Mhm.
is really around or even the adult, the person, right? Do they have any type of sensory
Mhm.
sensitivity to lights or sound?
Mhm.
So that way we're not putting them into an environment
Exactly.
where it becomes more harmful.
Mhm.
Can you imagine not yet asking that question,
Mhm.
then you're sending them into a place and now the kids are,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now when they go home, they have to now deal with that.
Yeah.
And now there becomes anger, like,
Mhm.
oh, every church is like that.
Mhm.
When we have
Right.
an opportunity to engage in conversation, and really finding out what are some of the gaps of where they are. And you know what? They may not know.
Mhm.
But maybe through that conversation, we can help guide them to a particular environment that can give them that clarity.
Mhm. I agree, 1,000%. Especially with the kids. I mean,
Doris is asking some really great questions in the
love
comments.
that.
Where are you in your
Yes.
spiritual journey? What is defined as a good church fit? These are all some
Those are
great
good,
questions that, and it's not only the evangelism team
No.
that is charged with getting familiar with what questions should you ask. And are you prepared for the response?
Mhm.
Because oftentimes we will go into, here are the features of the church,
Right. Yeah.
without really being descriptive of what are some of the growth opportunities, what you will walk away from. A lot of the comments is often, oh, my church is fire.
Literally.
And I'm
Yes.
like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So one of the questions I'm always asking is, are you looking for biblical teaching?
Right.
Are you looking for mentoring? Are you looking for a small group culture? Because then it actually will start to charge you to look at what else is in your community. Because if my church is focused on a specific area, but I know what's going on within other churches, what their strengths are, I'm able to say, you know what? I'm gonna go with you here.
Yeah.
Introduce you to them, but they still will remember, because remember, one person said, I've outgrown where I am. At some point, we may outgrow where we are and we need to go somewhere else, but that doesn't mean that we cut ties with where we came from.
Yeah, it just means you're looking for something different in this season of your life, which is why it's important to define what this season of your life is. And also it's important for the churches to define what you experience if you come join us. What our mission is, what our heart is,
what our values
are, yes, and what our teaching is. Because there are some churches that focus mainly on the gospel. There are some churches that are prophetic homes. There are some places that are healing and deliverance homes. And it's important to know what you need in this season of your life and how we could, because church is not meant for people love to be loyal to their churches. And that's great for a season. Or if you're meant to be there for the duration of your life, that's great too. But we need to understand that growing with God means moving to places that feed what you're hungry for in that moment.
And that's, when you think about some of the worship songs, I thirst for you, right? So sometimes we have to move into a different environment, and now you will get that unction. Your spirit will tell you when it's time to have that conversation with your current pastor. There's an order to how you do things, but that's where sometimes you need help with the language in order to understand, how do I have this conversation where it doesn't become you're not doing this, you're not doing this, I'm not getting fed. That's something I hear all the time. I'm not getting fed here. What does that mean? You have to be able to take a look at, where is the gap? Is it that you're looking for an understanding of the prophetic? Are you looking for a deeper revelatory teaching type of environment? Are you looking for accountability in your purpose? You want to grow in your purpose, so you're looking more for a small group culture, so that way you have the accountability, you have the mentorship. You have to be able to look at, where are you in your process, right? In your stage of development, but it's almost being transparent of saying, I don't know everything. And I want to go deeper in Christ, but what does that look like? And you need sometimes clarity. You need people to help you to get on that right track. Because like you said, you can't do something like that in isolation. I know we try. We try.
We do, but you can't.
We are not all knowing.
No.
And no matter how much we know, that's why it says, in all things get understanding. And we cannot get understanding on just by ourselves.
That's right. And also, it's important that people don't use the church to supplement their personal relationship with God, because you'll be disappointed everywhere you go. Because in order to be sharpened by your church, you have to have first your own relationship with God. It's kind of like in a course, like in nursing school, we have 36 hours of a class, and then we get to have like the lecture, and then we have the lab. But we sharpen the knowledge in ourselves in our study hours. They say, oh, you probably need to spend about 6 hours a day on this before you come to class. You have that personal time with God first, and then you come to church, you know what you need, or you have focal point. If we use the church to navigate us in our relationship with God, we'll fail every time. You have to have first your own relationship, then you attend church for your sharpening, for your outpouring, and for your inpouring.
What does that relationship look like? Because oftentimes when people are struggling in a particular area, especially like relationships, right? Or do you know how to partner with people? I always start with, what does your collaboration, what does your partnership with Jesus, with the Holy Spirit, what does that look like? Because oftentimes that may be your starting point, right? So, and we have some more questions. This is a really good question. I think we're getting more into people wanting to be at church with people like them. Angela, that is such a great point. And oftentimes when I see these comments on social media, the questions around, recommending a church, I often think about, the workplace. So if a friend is a graphic designer, right? and I say, hey, my workplace is amazing. You would love to work here. It's on fire, right? And I say, you should come work here. But there's no graphic department within my organization, right? So why would you refer them somewhere if they don't have them? Because to Angela's point, there's nobody who understands the language of being a graphic designer, right? Because we're looking at the systems of communication.
Yeah.
We're looking at some of the root causes of what will tear people apart. Why is it that we're not having that same context when it comes to where we're recommending for someone to go to church? You know, we think about years ago when we used to hear all the time, get connected with a Bible-based church in your area. Why are you traveling 1 hour, 2 hours, getting on a flight to go to another church? But there's some people that do that. And I'm just like, that then what happens? Now the dependency is on, I'm only going to go there once a quarter, or now it's, I'm just going to be able to go online and be able to get a word. Really? Is that where we're going?
I mean, I feel like COVID, I do hate referencing COVID because we are under a new normal. But it has created a culture of online is okay and online is all I need to do. But you can't really be engulfed in community online.
You can't. Engagement is not online.
No,
right?
It's not.
And you know, again, I know we're talking about some of our pet peeves, sidebar, but that is another pet peeve. When it comes to church, it's acceptable to say, oh, it's okay to go online. But yet all of the workplaces, they have gone back in office. Right? Or at most, there's some hybrid, places that are hybrid, but very few they've moved away from that. Because why? The collaboration. They've looked at their value statement and said, hey, this is not in alignment with our mission. So now why are we kind of saying it's okay and we're making that acceptable? I had a conversation yesterday with someone that said, oh, you know, online is okay because I have to go to work. No, there's something called religious accommodations that you're able to say, I have to go to church based off of my religion to go Sundays and on this day, but here's what I can work. Okay, they give you a religious accommodation. What are you putting first? And the thing is that corporate engagement is so key. What are you willing to set aside to really put God first? That's what it comes down to. You know, so that is another question around how do we get people more engaged? And it is by asking questions, getting familiarized with other churches in the area. And Angela, another great question. You know, would love to do a roundtable with some local pastors within Fayetteville and the surrounding areas, because I am a big advocate of it. We don't have to send people to one place. If we know what everybody in the surrounding neighborhood, what is their area, what's their, for lack of a better word, their niche area, because each church, they are strong in something. They are powerful in something that when somebody walks in, they're like, this is where my people are. Because why? People are peculiar like them, right? And it's okay for them to be free to be who they are. So if we're able to know what's going on in the surrounding areas, as we start to really engage in conversation, we're partnering in the kingdom. We're partnering together because the end result is all the same. We want to see people prosper. You know, we want to see people flourishing in all areas of life. And we can only do that if we're able to join hands with each other. And then we're able to have conversations to direct people to the appropriate place.
And not competing.
Is it really a competition?
I don't understand. Because if we're, so to your point, we're all a body. And when you're saying everybody has one thing that they're really good at, we might have a church full of arms. Might have a church full of feet, church full of heads. And it's important that when we come together, we can get something done together. And I would love to see more collaboration of churches, especially in smaller areas. Because I mean, I think the city got it locked down.
But that's the thing. But do they really?
Yeah.
Just because there is a flock of people going to a place, right? We can't be moved by numbers.
Right, no.
Because some of the questions, you saw some of the
Yeah.
recommendation that
Yeah.
they're seeking, not everybody
mega
is
church.
seeking a mega church. There are some people that are now they are like clamoring to come back into where the pastors, where the leaders know their name. Where if they're missing, somebody takes notice.
Yeah.
You cannot get that in a mega church, but you can get that in the smaller size church where now it's even, you're starting to engage in dialogue. You know, one of the things that I am an advocate about is looking at what are the demographics of your church.
Yeah.
Because if all of the demographics in your church are single women, who are they going to ask questions of? Because the Bible says to go home and ask your husband. But if I'm looking at the four walls, who am I asking? Right? So it becomes where it's so great to be able to say, you know what, on this night, there's an opportunity where we sit, yes, there's a core lesson, but there's an opportunity for you to get your questions answered.
Yeah.
How great is that, where people can now say, instead of my church was on fire this week, where instead they're shifting to, here's the one thing, here was my takeaway from the lesson that I heard on Sunday. We have to move away even from our language of saying, that's fired up, that's fired up, we had a fired up time, and start saying, you know what, here are some of the takeaways. So that way you're able to now say, I really have a learning church. I have a place where people can grow, get their questions answered. You know, so it's just some things to really think about. And we all have a part in being able to direct people to the right place, just how we would in terms of the workplace. We are very diligent. We're precise in saying this organization would be a good fit, not for where you are today, but where you can grow at. Let's kind of start to incorporate that language even when it comes to our faith formation. And I know that that's something that we do here at Favor Together, because Doris, to your point, let's partner together in the kingdom with one another. One of the things that will be coming up, dates are TBD, but it's let's reason together. You know, because the thing is that if we're able to reason together to make sure that we are aligned, right, and that we are committed to forming the kingdom, that we are committed to helping people to steward what God has put in them, it takes away of the competition and it's replaced with collaboration. How can we partner together? Because we're not in competition with each other. The only competition is making sure that everybody, when they take their last breath, that everybody knows where they're going. You know, that's so good. It's that salvation, it's the righteousness, it's first, it's what I know that we can get into, you know, building vision. And everybody knows that's my first question, but I have reverse engineered that because at the end of the day, your purpose is important, but your relationship with Christ is critical. It is crucial. Literally, So in terms of, you know, when we're looking at these questions, it's an opportunity to know this is what's going on. These are the conversations that are happening on platforms. And we may all be on Instagram. I'm on every single platform. Because why? I want to understand what is going on with the emerging leaders, with Gen X, right? With Gen Z, all the baby boomers. It doesn't matter. Everybody. I just want to understand where is everyone at? Because this is not necessarily just a regional thing, because there's a lot of transplants. I'm one of them. There's a lot of transplants here in Georgia. There are, you know, so it's not business as usual anymore. It is not the language of this is how we've always done it. We're in a different age where we have to be able to really hone in on our niche, right? And something you said I want to go back to because it was so key when you were talking about there may be a place that has 5 arms, right? And they're all kind of clamoring and And then the church, the three churches that are on the same block, they ain't got no arms.
No. Yeah.
How great would it be for them to actually now test out
Mhm.
what's in them, because they're too comfortable where they
Yeah.
are. They're
Yeah.
too familiar where
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
How about you loan them to
Mhm.
the 3-4 other churches that are on that street that need an arm?
Mm.
But you're not sending them out alone, because why? 2 by 2.
Mhm.
So everybody gets to
That's so
partner
good.
up.
Yeah.
You know, instead of being, because there's safety in numbers.
Mhm.
We're seeing that in all the other mountains,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But imagine if there's 5 musicians in one church.
Mhm.
Now, don't just send one, send 2. So now that way, somebody is always watching
Yeah.
the back, the front, the
Yeah.
side, everywhere.
Yeah.
So that collaboration, that partnership in the kingdom is so key
That's
in
so
this
good.
hour,
Yeah.
because that's how when you think about, the order will come, and that's how revival will come.
Mhm.
Because everybody, and your generation, I'm sorry, but you know what, you all get to see what it looks like to not have to work in isolation.
Mhm.
And what does it look like, even from an organizational level,
Mhm.
for collaborate? What does that look like? We always
Mm.
say that. Some people have it as their values, but it's one thing to have it written down or show it on the screen,
Mhm.
but what does it look like in application?
In play, how can we
Mhm.
see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
So, you know, we just wanted to really just spend some time talking about faith formation. And, you know, one of the things that I like to really encourage people to do is that if you need any type of clarity, if you need any support, that's one of the things that we do offer. So I put the QR code up, and we'll have it in the comments once
Yes.
this is posted. But take advantage of it. You know, so oftentimes within your circle, you may not have anyone or have access to anyone
Mhm.
who can give you the clarity that you need. And when it comes to faith formation, I'm biased, but I think that this is one of the most important
Yeah,
areas
absolutely.
to focus on
Mhm.
before, you know, so you have identity formation, you have
Mhm.
faith formation. Those are your starting points,
Yeah.
right? But your faith, that will keep you
Yes.
in those moments where things get rough.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like being around a group of people that you can lean on in those times of trouble, in those times of isolation, when your family doesn't get you, when your spouse doesn't get you, when your parents don't get you.
Yeah.
You know, this is the opportunity to get positioned in the right place. And sometimes, you know, we're quick, like in the marketplace, we're quick to quit. Right? We're quick to
Yes.
leave a place.
Yeah.
And that's where the discernment is also kicks in of, is this really my time to leave? Or is this my time to get out of the pew
Mhm.
and start going to work?
Yes.
You know, because anybody can go somewhere and say, I'm leaving because I'm not getting fed.
Mhm.
But is this your season to move from being fed and to start teaching what you have learned?
Mhm.
But that has to start with a conversation with your leadership team. That has to start with you understanding, where are you in this season to really start utilizing your gift.
Yeah.
Because when you move from formation, then you start to really shift into stewardship, and you're able to say, am I really being a good steward of my gifts sitting on the pew?
Not.
When there's a need where you are,
Yes.
and you are that answer.
And you feel that need. Because a lot of times we get frustrated by exactly what God wants us to go put in play.
And then we get mad when God sends somebody else to do what you were sitting in the
Right.
seat to do.
Right. Get up. Get up. Put your hands to the plow.
So, you know, just in kind of rounding this all up, you know, what I want to really emphasize is that finding a church isn't just about finding a place to attend. It's about finding a community that will help form who God has called you to be. So I encourage those, before you start asking, where should I go? Maybe ask, what is God trying to grow in me during this season? Because discernment, of course, is not about having all the answers. Right. It's about learning to ask the right questions. Yes. And I would encourage you, if you're watching this on the replay, take a look at some of the comments. I saw Doris, I saw Angela, I saw Leandria. They asked some really great questions, and that will help you on your journey
Yes.
of understanding what are some right questions to ask. And if you'd like someone to walk through those questions with you, we'd be honored to help you. So again, you see the QR code. You can schedule a clarity conversation. So until next time, thank you so much for joining Angel and I on Formation Live, and we will see you soon.